Here is Danny, and today, Mr. Pro Westy asked on his Twitter, should the next Battlefield game launch without a single player campaign? And I'm gonna talk about why I think that would be pretty bad for the Battlefield franchise. And also react to some other answers that were posted in the same tweet. Because I do want to give you some value for your click here on YouTube. But keep in mind, I'm just an armchair dev, but I do like to talk with developers about these things. So I like to think I know just a little bit more than the average Joe. And if your name is Joe, I am sorry. I personally think Battlefield needs a single player mode for the following reasons. If DICE would yeet out the single player, they can't sell the game anymore for $60. And I am pretty sure EA wants to do that and not undersell their game, because there would be less perceived value for the money. Even if the single player was replaced by 8 maps and 10 extra guns or whatever, the value of the package is hurt. In a world where AAA games can be free, you need the full package to be worth $60. And marketing technique, having a single player works better too. It's either experience the fiscal campaign where you take out the entire Chinese army, or it would read on the box, now with more maps, which could make you think, so you cheapened out before? It also has to follow other games, else you would just seem like really poor value compared to the rest. And why would a casual pleb buy a game with poor value if he can just get a different game that is both cheaper and offers basically the same? Just take a look at other games. Overwatch, multiplayer only, launched at a reduced price. Rainbow Six Siege, multiplayer only, once again, $40 at launch. Fortnite, €40 single player game, failed massively and then became one of the biggest free-to-play multiplayer titles. The only games that can get away by having only one mode and still being $60 are open world games like Assassin's Creed and Zelda, where the playtime comes from exploring and doing repetitive side missions. Or when it is such a big franchise like God of War, but even then it has big worlds and 30 hours of gameplay. Call of Duty tried it with Black Ops 4, but kinda failed, not selling as much as Activision wanted. And of course 2019's Modern Warfare got single player again, showing that it didn't work out for Treyarch. And even then, open world games like Far Cry 5 still got the full package and a map editor, which gives you an amazing value for your money. There is a reason that Uncharted 2 till 4 and The Last of Us got multiplayer as well. Remember Star Wars Battlefront 2015? The game launched without single player for $60 and DICE got vilified. Not just for the lack of multiplayer content, but also for the lack of single player, with even John Boyega asking for a single player campaign. And it's not like nobody actually plays it. You can actually look at how many people play the single player and multiplayer thanks to Xbox achievements. For example, about 18% of Battlefield 4 players got the Fish achievement in Battlefield 4, which you get for completing the campaign on easy. On the other hand, only 31% got the achievement to stab 5 people in multiplayer, and only 21% reached level 25, which is quite easy to reach in that game. So what about Battlefield 1? 48% did at least one challenge in the single player, only 1/3 reached rank 10 in multiplayer, and the single player mission completion is varying from 26 in From Mud and Blood to 22% in the Italian mission. Or take Hardline, 43% completed episode 3 and 30% of them got to episode 10, which is the end. Which is a pretty high amount for just a multiplayer franchise, as some like to call it. According to the official Xbox achievement page, only 18% reached level 10 in Bad Company 2. 45% played 15 minutes of the multiplayer, and 56% finished the first mission, and 31% finished the entire campaign. Which means more people started the single player than have actually played the multiplayer for 15 minutes. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 on the Xbox 360 has a 35% completion rate, which is seen as one of the best single player shooters out there. So that's actually a fairly decent player base for single player missions, with for example only 10% more reaching rank 10 in multiplayer than have finished the single player missions in Battlefield 4. And of course it can't check people who have never been online, so the numbers can only rise a bit. And that is just one part of the site. Assets made for the game are used in both single player and multiplayer. Take for example Rotterdam and Devastation. They share tons of items with the Last Tiger, which also shares the outside of Operation Underground. And Narvik shares it with Nordlis and so on. So there is unique assets too, but in general it doesn't save an amazing lot. Besides that, things like voiceover and cinematics are the most expensive part of single player. But if you take single player away, those people will not add much towards multiplayer content for the most part. And the level designers, or the ones making the maps, are mostly doing scripting things and AI things. Nothing you can actually do in multiplayer, which is a very different skill set that you need. Like I can make maps, but definitely not the AI things. What my talking contact told me, it's not even EA forcing it on them. But DICE seems to actually want it themselves, and then asked for the appropriate budget. You can actually see when a publisher wants a single player by looking who made it. For example, if they task a second studio with creating the second mode. Take a look at the amazing Spec Ops The Line for example. Mainly a single player game, but the multiplayer was outsourced to Darkside Game Studio, who also made the multiplayer for Bioshock 2. And besides that, DICE is a AAA studio and should definitely be able to make a complete package. Just because Battlefield 5 is so questionable doesn't mean you should excuse them for deleting content. So as a TLDR, no single player doesn't automatically mean more maps, lots of assets are shared anyway. DICE wants to do it themselves and are not forced. If a second unrelated studio works on it, it's the idea of the publisher. Single player adds value to the package, especially in this free-to-play AAA game world. DICE makes great memes, and single player LEDs don't always have use for multiplayer games. Also, it is of course a great way to teach the mechanics and controls to the player. Someone else mentioned that DICE should stop with the 15 game modes, saying make it 4 modes: Conquest, Rush, Frontlines and TDM. Which is definitely something I'm against. Let me decide what I want to play. If I want to play Domination with 30 other people, let us. In Battlefield 5 I just want to play Domination and Frontlines, but according to DICE that is illegal. Well, screw you, I want to play it. But hey, that is all I got for now. Subscribe for more. This was Danny and I see you on the battlefield.